ladies and gentlemen. It's Summerslam!
What's going on, YouTubers? It is your boy, Alyx Man. Welcome to another edition to my SummerSlam review series, where I review every single SummerSlam leading up to the big 2018 SummerSlam event. And when it comes to 1989's SummerSlam, the second ever SummerSlam in pay-per-view history, it's better than the first one. I'm not sitting here telling you it's a great show. Matter of fact, I wouldn't watch it more than once, personally. Decent show, has some good matches, has some bad matches. But this needs to be said. We have to remember this is a different time in wrestling. Back then, wrestling quality did not matter. It was all about being larger than life. It was about the personalities, the characters, the personas, personalities. The Hulk Hogans, the Macho Man Randy Savages, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase's. That's what people paid hundreds of dollars to go see. So, I can't really say because the wrestling quality didn't really meet a high standard. Perhaps, again, based off of what the show was intending to do, does that mean it was a bad show? I don't really think it was a bad show. I think it was decent, but I don't know, once again, if we were to have this show nowadays, this exact same show, if you were to have this same show nowadays, would it hold up? And to me, I don't think it would. Then again, that's just my opinion. How you feel about it, please let me know down below in the comments. But it's just funny to me. It's funny to me that we hear these people in the business nowadays say, oh, well, it's all about the personalities. It's not about wrestling. Wrestling doesn't matter. Well, the quality of the matches doesn't matter. And then you look at what this show is doing, and you just can't help but go, you're only saying that because it worked for you back then. What worked back then doesn't work now. That's how I feel. You have to grow with the business. You have to change with the times. Nowadays, fans do care about the wrestling quality. Now, if you're able, in some shape or form, if you're able to create a Hulk Hogan persona, please do. We might see how that might carry over into 2018 if we ever had that, which we don't. We don't have a Hulk Hogan. We never will have a Hulk Hogan. There's only one Hulk Hogan. But for me, I just feel like it's very important to understand that nowadays, when it comes to the wrestling audiences, when it comes to wrestling, yes, it is important to have characters. Yes, it is important to have stories and larger-than-life personas. But wrestling is important. The art of wrestling means a lot more here in 2018 than it did in 1989. With that said, though, let's just break this down. Let's go ahead and go through the entire pay-per-view match by match. Couple of details first. The runtime for the show was 2 hours and 40 minutes, so just a tad bit longer than the first pay-per-view. Let me take this off. I don't even know why I wore this. The date was August 28th, 1989. The arena was the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Attendance was 20,000, sold out, pretty good. Commentary was, watch this, Tony Schiavone, who was the voice of WCW, the head commentator of WCW. He was here for a short period of time in WWF. He eventually did leave. He only stayed a year, if that. He didn't stay that long. He talked about it in an interview. I don't even know why he left. I might have to do my research on that. If you know why he left, please let me know down below. But he didn't stay that long. I don't even know why he didn't. But regardless, his partner was Jesse the Body Ventura. So, there you go. I thought he did a good job. I personally thought he added a lot to the show. Made it feel just a tad bit more special. Not as good as Gorilla Monsoon, of course, because that's a totally different level of commentary. But he did pretty good. Of course, our favorite ring announcer, Howard the Fink, was there. Backstory to the main event. WWF financed a professional wrestling movie called No Holds Barred. Hogan starred as the hero, Rip, Rip, a professional wrestler, while Tom Lister played the villain Zeus. In the movie, Hogan defeated Zeus, and apparently the rivalry spanned into WWF. Essentially, he wanted to take revenge of a real-life incident, so it had nothing to do with the movie. Okay, sure, whatever. Doesn't really change the fact that we brought a movie character to a supposed real-life wrestling event. Let's just get to the actual show. We open up with the Brainbusters versus the Hart Foundation. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard with Bobby the Brain Heenan taking on Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. As you would expect, we have two legendary tag teams going head-to-head, and yes, it was a good match. Really good match. Come on, it's two of the best teams of that era. Well, two of the best teams ever in the history of wrestling. The cheap finish was... It was what it was. Arn Anderson apparently was not the legal guy, but he ended up pinning Bret Hart. I did like how they got around it, because he hit his head underneath Bret Hart's arm, so the referee couldn't tell he was not the legal man, because they both wore the same trunks and stuff like that. So, you know what? I'll let it go, because the fact that the referee was unable to tell who it was that got the pin, okay, it really fit the cracky heels they were at the time. Honestly, I actually like it, because it fit their characters. So, you know what? I'll let it slide. Good guys lost. Villains got away with it. And there you go. Good match to open up the show. I was very confused why they didn't put up the tag team championships, though. I mean, they asked that. Didn't the commentators play up that question? They were like, why aren't you defending your tag team titles at SummerSlam? And they were just like, I don't know. Okay, fine. Did they ever defend those titles, by the way? I think they eventually do. Regardless. Next match is Dusty Rhodes versus Honky Tonk Man. Love me some Dusty Rhodes. I thought he had a pretty solid match. Very fun to watch. You can't tell me Dusty Rhodes is not a legend. The way he's able to just make everything look so fluid for a man his size. And then he put some spunk on it too. Dusty Rhodes is awesome. One of the best of all time. Solid match, and he wins. He beats the Honky Tonk Man, and I think he recently just came in too, so this was much needed. He beat one of the best heels, the top heels in WWF at the time. And then we got Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, taking on the Red Rooster, Terry Taylor. I heard stories about why he got that gimmick. So Terry Taylor was a, by the way, really good professional wrestler inside the ring. Good in-ring talent. But the story goes, he was looking for a gimmick, or he was trying to present a gimmick to the higher-ups, and apparently it didn't go his way, and he started to make complaints, and so to embarrass him and punish him, they gave him the Red Rooster gimmick, literally to bury him. And Terry Taylor tried to be a good sport about it and make it work, put it over. I guess I can give him credit for trying. But, for real? The Red Rooster? Yeah, not one of the greatest gimmicks in the world on purpose. And they knew it was embarrassing. They were trying to bury poor Taylor. But Mr. Perfect won with the Perfect Plex because he's Mr. Perfect. Let me just name the people in this match. We had Tito Santana. You had the Rockers, that's Shawn Michaels, young Shawn Michaels, and Marty Jannetty, taking on Rick Martel and the fabulous Rougeau brothers, who apparently, one half of them ended up being the Monty, which is interesting. Again, that's another character I have no idea about. I don't know anything about the Monty. It was one hell of a match. It was fast-paced from beginning to end, and the craziness in this match, bruh. The heels end up getting the victory, of course. We had, was it Rick Martel pinning Shawn Michaels, I think? I didn't write that down, but I'm assuming it was. The villains win, and fun match. The tag matches were the best part of this pay-per-view. Shouldn't have been that way. It should have been the main event, but we'll get to that in just a second. We had a promo between Ravishing Rick Rude and Bobby the Brain Heenan. They were talking about defending their championship title and stuff like that. Just a typical heel promo. A little backstory about this, though. This was edited, because the actual version had a Botchamania moment, a very infamous Botchamania moment where the SummerSlam sign fell behind Gene Okerlund. He turned around and cussed. He swore up a storm, and it was hilarious. Now, the actual version is on YouTube, so you might have to look for it. So type in SummerSlam 1989, Rick Rude promo, and maybe you'll find it. But it's hilarious. Hilarious. We have the Intercontinental Championship match between Ravishing Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. And I guess by default, this was match of the night, because this was really good. And to all the people who would go out of their way to say Ultimate Warrior never had a good match in his life, stop it. Stop. Okay? You might not like him. He might have been an asshole, and yes, he was very hard to work with. But give him credit where credit is due. The guy actually knew how to tell a story inside the ring. And I feel like people don't want to give him that credit because of how much of a jerk he was. I'm sorry that he was a jerk to you, but the guy was good. The guy sold out arenas. He had fans. He sold a ton of merchandise to make the company money, so give him credit where credit is due. Yes, he was an asshole, and he might have been a little misogynistic, too, and other stuff. But as a performer, he did his thing, man. And this was a good match. Really good match, in fact. The crowd was hot for it. They went wild for the finish. Nice appearance from Roddy Piper. We had an appearance from Roddy Piper giving an assist to Warrior to help him get the championship back that he lost unfairly at WrestleMania 5. I just liked the match. Overall, I thought both men worked very well. And Ultimate Warrior got his championship back. He became a two-time IC champion. And then we go on to Andre the Giant and the Twin Towers. That was Big Boss Man and Akeem with Bobby the Brain Heenan and Slick taking on Demolition, who had an awesome theme song, by the way. I never ever talked about their theme song, but I love it. Here comes the axe, here comes the slasher, and all that stuff. It was a great theme song. They teamed up with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, ho, Mr. America, and they won. Decent match overall. You know, nothing else to really say about it. It did its job, got the crowd into it, and there you go. And then we did this segment with, what was his name? Ronnie Garvin? Rugged Ronnie Garvin, who came out as the special ring announcer, and he introduced the next match, which was Hercules versus Greg the Hammer Valentine. And during his introduction of Greg Valentine, he basically tore him to shreds. Said he had 2 left feet. He was overweight, about 30 pounds. And I'm just sitting there going, bruh, Greg is gonna kick your ass if you keep talking crap about him. But I guess that worked back then because Greg was a heel and, oh, we hate the heels, he's a bad guy, so it's cool, right? Whatever. The match sucked. I mean, for real. Hercules, Greg the Hammer Valentine. The finish was crappy, and then afterwards, Garvin tried to do this thing where he tried to get the referee to change this. Not even tried to get the referee to change his decision, because the referee said Greg won, but he tried to change the decision by saying Hercules won by disqualification. And we're like, no, he lost. It was cheap, but he lost. And then he got attacked by Valentine, and then Garvin knocked out Valentine with a fake punch. It was terrible. It was bad. And then we get into something else that was just as bad. $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, taking on Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Superfly Jimmy Snuka. The match was poor, because just like Junkyard Dog, Jimmy Snuka was another legend that had an awesome run on the territories. More than Junkyard Dog did. And for some reason, when he came to WWF, he just didn't live up to the standard he presented himself as. And it's discouraging. You know, Dusty Rhodes didn't fall into that camp yet. He was still having good matches. These guys weren't, unfortunately. So, the match was not good. And then the Finish was god-awful. Ted DiBiase wins by countout. Very cheap, by the way. And then Snuka ends up doing a Superfly Splash on Virgil, and it sucked. It sucked. Not a good look for two Hall of Famers, just saying. We have the main event after that. Before that, we had the Genius deliver a promo in the form of a poem, basically supporting the heels and bashing the babyfaces. And I loved it, because the Genius is amazing. Lenny Poffo, the brother of Macho Man Randy Savage, by the way. I just thought the Genius was one of those extremely underrated characters who deserved a lot more than what he got. That's just my opinion. Alright, main event, Hulk Hogan, Brutus Beefcake, with Miss Elizabeth, who got her own introduction, and she looked gorgeous. Sparkling red dress. No place like home. Just saying. Sparkling red boots. Moving on. Macho Man Randy Savage and Zeus, with Sensational Sherry, were their opponents. And another person that was extremely gorgeous was Sensational Sherry. Although she purposely wore makeup to make herself not attractive, she was still attractive. Kind of crazy. Okay, the match itself, look. There's a story going on around this time that Zeus was unstoppable. He was a monster heel. You couldn't knock him down. Basically another version of Andre the Giant, just not as good. And it was clear they were protecting Zeus. He's not a wrestler. He's not a trained athlete whatsoever. And it didn't come off very well. They tried to make it work. Savage especially tried to make it work. That poor guy must have put holes through walls to make this work. To their credit, though, it ended up being an average match, but you could tell Zeus was not a trained athlete whatsoever. Yeah, the match, look, if you've seen any other Hogan match, you've seen them all. This is no different than any Hogan match you've ever seen. He gets beat up for the majority of the match. Hulk's up, brother, makes a comeback. And just to put some spice on it, ends up using the loaded purse from Sensational Sherry to knock Zeus off of his feet, which was a big deal. Oh my god, he knocked the monster Zeus off his feet. And then he ends up pinning him. Well, picks him up, slams him, leg drop, pins on 1, 2, 3. And then after the match, Sherry gets in the ring and Hogan teases punching her. But he doesn't because she's a woman. Instead, he hits her with an atomic drop, because that's better. And Elizabeth slaps her with the purse, which was hilarious. Ventura is ranting that he beat up a woman, which he kind of did. He was right. But it doesn't matter because the good guys won. They celebrate to Real American, and we end with the Hulk Hogan brother posing. And that's basically SummerSlam. So again, tad bit better than the first one, but not too much. What do you feel about this? How did you guys feel about this pay-per-view? If you saw it, thoughts, complaints, praises, comments down below. When does it get better? I know someone said it actually gets better around 1991, but once again, it just goes to show you, just because SummerSlam is the grand spectacle of the summer now, doesn't mean it was always that way. This is clearly one of those shows that they just did to build into stuff going down the road. But regardless, there you go. Hope you enjoyed my review of SummerSlam 1989. I'll see you tomorrow for 1990. And hopefully that one's better. But this is your boy, The Lexman, signing off right here. And your boy, The Lexman's World. See you later. Peace.